every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on NiceRadio for A View from the Outside.
This society needs a spectacle. It might help us to see something.
All right, and it's March the 3rd, the first Saturday in the third month of 2018. Speaking of spectacle and stimulation, well, enough stimulation this morning. Brereton, good morning.
Good morning to you, Justin. How are you? It's indeed the first Saturday in March. How are you doing?
Yes, nice, great, and wonderful. Really felt jumpy this morning, and I came here and tried to evoke that same spirit in the listeners.
I've been listening to your music, and I said, "Wow,
yes.
Justin is in a very good mood this morning."
Feel great walking up the hill, man.
I envy you there. I wish I could be doing that.
But it's important that people get the message that sometimes when you're down, you got to find ways of finding that spirit, whether you look to the Lord, you look to the environment, and this week in particular had been very challenging for NiceRadio and especially Dougie himself.
Yes, and you're quite right. It's self-motivation. Mm-hmm. When one is down, you find ways of motivating yourself to get yourself back up. You're quite right.
You got to dig deep.
Absolutely,
that's the idea.
Absolutely. And Vincentians at the moment know that they have to dig deep.
They need to dig deep.
Yes,
need
absolutely.
To dig deep. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, weather-wise, I'm seeing that. Let's see. Today being Saturday, yesterday was pretty rainy. After some days of good sunshine, but I'm seeing here a weak surface to low level ridge pattern is controlling the weather across the island. So we expect intermittent showers to continue maybe through to the weekend.
I see. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Temperature is 24 Celsius.
Right. Nothing like we have here, Justin. I don't know. You probably have followed the news and heard about what is referred to as the beast from the east, which is this snow coming across this side from Siberia to the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I've been here, and as a matter of fact, the fountain in Trafalgar froze up. I think I saw something on Facebook.
Yes, I mean, this has been the coldest March. March has just begun, but it's the coldest March on record since records have started. Mm-hmm. So the temperatures hit minus below zero quite a few times,
right.
And there has been an enormous amount of snow, and I thought we had it really bad in London, but when I look at what happened in Scotland and Ireland, Northern Ireland in particular, I think London escaped somehow, although tons of snow fell in London as well.
All right, well, they say signs of the times.
Absolutely, and there are those people who don't believe in global warming, but there you go.
I know.
When St. Vincent gets temperatures where people are saying they're freezing, one has to wonder what is happening out there,
All right, man, you take the wheel from here.
Thank you, Justin. Let me say good morning to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, all of the listeners of NiceRadio, wherever you are, and a special good morning to the people in the Vincentian diaspora across the world. On A View from the Outside this week, being the 3rd of March, 2018, which, as Justin said, is the first Saturday in March, we focus on conscience, C-O-N-S-C-I-E-N-C-E, conscience, with the view being that Vincentians must be mindful of the signs and must be aware of any attempt by those in authority to affect their conscience in ways which are not positive. Adolf Hitler, the internationally infamous dictator of Nazi Germany, brazenly once said, I want to raise a nation, I want to raise a generation of young people devoid of conscience. Adolf Hitler, as everyone knows, is known worldwide as a despotic dictator. The Oxford Dictionary defines conscience as a person's moral sense of right and wrong, viewed as acting as a guide to one's behavior. When leaders suggest that they wish to raise a nation or a generation of young people devoid of conscience, it means that that leader intends to raise a generation that is void of a moral sense of right and wrong. It is our view, on a view from the outside, that this is a dangerous prospect. It was the late Whitney Houston, in her song, Greatest Love of All, who told us that the children are the future. And we believe that there can be no doubt about that the children are the future. We also believe that it is quite possible for modern day leaders to echo the words of Adolf Hitler through other words and actions. After the 1998 general elections, when the current administration in St. Vincent and the Grenadines were agitating to bring down the then New Democratic Party, NDP, government, their leader and now Prime Minister infamously promised to make the country, quote, ungovernable, unquote. They succeeded in bringing down the NDP government in 2001, and the Unity Labour Party, ULP administration, has now been in government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for some 17 years. First-time voters in the next general elections in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whenever they might be, and the majority of the youth population in the country would have been children, some probably not born, when that outrageous pronouncement was made. They grew up under the administration, and as such, the ULP can be seen to be largely responsible for providing the environment which is responsible for training their conscience, that is the conscience of these young people, of these youths. One is therefore led to ask whether the ULP administration lived up to the promise of their leader to make St. Vincent and the Grenadines ungovernable. One is led to ask further whether the ULP government is raising a generation devoid of conscience. A view of the social landscape in St. Vincent and the Grenadines shows that there is a widespread social decadence. There is widespread social decadence and degeneracy in the society, where people's behavior has become shocking, immoral, and wrong. And this kind of behavior takes place against the backdrop of allegations of sexual assault, rape and rape rally, the degrading of and insults hurled at citizens, even in Parliament and on the airwaves on a daily basis, allegations of money laundering and human trafficking, allegations of election thievery, the undermining of the rule of law, and the curtailment of fundamental rights and freedoms of citizens by engendering and cultivating a climate of fear. The many news reports show that there has been an increase in violence, especially gun violence, and murder in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with many of the incidents involving young people in the country. This is a very dangerous trend, and if it is not curbed, can have everlasting and disastrous effects on our youths and the future of our blessed country. Again, one must ask whether our youths have been trained to be devoid of conscience. Is it that these young people do not know what is right from wrong? Have their consciences been trained to adopt such despicable and utterly devastating behavior? It is interesting to note that on a recent radio program, the director of the National Commission on Crime in St. Vincent and the Grenadines said that her department does not have a budget to run activities to assist young people in local communities pertaining to avoiding crime and criminal activities. Yet, in the face of such deficiency, thousands of dollars were spent to celebrate the first anniversary of the Argyle International Airport. The question must be asked whether the training of the conscience of the youth in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in a positive way is less important than a celebration by throwing away, as many people have said, thousands of dollars in celebration or in a futile celebration of the anniversary of the airport. Also, we have heard reports of a group called the Parliament Girls, which came to light during the recent sex scandal allegedly involving the current Minister of Finance in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is alleged that these young girls or young women engage in sexual and other activities with men of power and status in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a means of survival. It is also alleged that some of these men of power include ministers of government. This, as a view from the outside pointed out, is a form, or can be a form, of human trafficking. It is certainly a form of sexual exploitation. If young women in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are at the point where they feel the need to form themselves into a group to engage in lascivious activities to obtain material things to survive, then we must wonder whether their consciences have been affected in a negative way. Are they devoid of conscience? And what about the consciences of those who exploit these young girls? Are they too devoid of conscience? Or have they, as we say colloquially, no conscience at all? Prostitution must not be allowed to take root, and especially not amongst the young population, male or female, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But what can these youths do, we ask? Find employment? Well, the Minister of Transportation and Works in February 2017, during his budget presentation, lamented that the budget of St. Vincent and the Grenadines was not about creating jobs. The 2017 IMF report on St. Vincent and the Grenadines says that youth unemployment has risen since 2001 and currently sits at 46%. Female unemployment sits at 30%. Those figures are certainly alarming. They drive one to wonder whether the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is deliberately creating a situation where young people and others must be forced to engage in illegal, immoral activities to survive, thereby affecting their consciences negatively or making them devoid of conscience, and as such, contributing to the ungovernable state in which the country finds itself. Certainly, there is a current climate of protest by Vincentians in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, across the region, and in the wider world. With protests being held in the United Kingdom, Canada, and the USA last Saturday, the 24th of February, 2017. Recently, in Barbados, a university lecturer and 3 other human rights activists in Barbados staged a protest at the Cave Hill campus at the University of the West Indies, whilst the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, was presenting a lecture. They were protesting, like others, the injustices taking place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines pertaining to the way women are being treated in the country. One of the issues they raised was the quote-unquote dignified silence being maintained by the Minister of Finance in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as instructed by his father, the Prime Minister, in the wake of the Yogi Farrell issue. In the audience, several young Vincentian students remained silent, whilst 4 Barbadians stood up and protested issues affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In one video circulated on social media, a female who from reports is a Vincentian can be heard chastising the protesters for, quote-unquote, disrespecting her Prime Minister. Others clapped when the Prime Minister sought to find refuge and rebut the protesters by suggesting that he was not there to speak up to women's issues, but to disaster management in the Caribbean. We, on a view from the outside, find this behavior by young Vincentians in the audience concerning and regrettable. And in this regard, we ask, have our young people become devoid of conscience? Has the current leader of our country been successful in raising a young population without conscience? This development is frightening and certainly needs to be reversed with haste. We now urge all Vincentians to take a step back and evaluate. Evaluate the state of moral and social decadence and degeneracy taking place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and take the steps necessary to ensure that their consciences or their ability to decide right from wrong is not adversely affected. And as such, we ask Vincentians to take the following actions. And we note that this list is by no means an exhaustive one. Speak out about the ills taking place in the country, regardless of political persuasion. Engage each other in discussion about what is right and wrong, and be able to recognize these situations. Respect each other. Find creative ways to entertain each other using our cultural traditions. Recreate a sense of community life that existed in our country years ago. Be on the lookout for sexual exploitation and human trafficking. Report persons to the relevant authorities who attempt to exploit anyone in our society. Encourage and engage the youths of the country. Your youths, your children, encourage and engage them, and encourage and engage each other to practice that which is right and conscionable. In his work, A Testament of Hope, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular. But he must take it because conscience tells him that it is right." If we train the consciences of our young people, to be able to distinguish right from wrong, then they will take positions that are neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but positions which are right. Until next week, Justin, this is Brereton Horne with a view from the outside, and reminding our listeners to send feedback to aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. That's aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com.
Yeah,
I want to say here, Justin, thanks to Guevara Leacock, who contributed to the research of this program, this week's program. And I also want to wish you, Justin, and all of the listeners a very pleasant Saturday, a blessed Sunday, and a week ahead where Vincentians become more conscious and the consciences will be arisen in a positive way. All the best to you.
Well, yes, thank you very much. All right, that's Brereton Horne as